Hey guys, it's Marissa at kitchentablestamper.com. So this is my Facebook Live on Friday, and I thought I'd make a clean video for you. That's a M fold card, so it's 5.5 by 11, and then you make these fun scores and add your flaps. And you've got this gorgeous display piece. Isn't that a beautiful card? All right, let's get started. I'm going to start with the coloring here, and we're going to do one of each of the bee and the flower. Now, you're going to need 4 of the flowers and 4 of the bees, but let's start by just making 1. So I've done 3 ahead of time. I have both the flower and the little bees, and I'm gonna show you how I did those. We'll stamp, color, and cut 1. I've got basic white cardstock and crumb cake ink. My images are from Nature's Harvest. We're gonna use this gorgeous cone flower, colored it kind of like a daisy or daisy flower. And then my bumblebee is from Garden Wishes. It's a little bit older stamp set, but I love the coordination between the two. The art is so similar, you can definitely mix and match the parts and the greetings. I've got my daisy flower here, and I'm going to ink up in crumb cake. Just get good solid coverage and stamp. Beautiful. And now same with the bumblebee. I've got crumb cake and right there on the white scrap. Now we're going to color with Stampin' Blends. I've got kind of an eclectic mix of neutral colors. I'll put them on the project sheet for you. I've got dark soft suede, and then I believe that this one's bronze. Yep, bronze. And then I've got crumb cake combo, and I've got dark so saffron, light old olive, light mossy meadow, and then the cinnamon cider combo. I've also got a color lifter. All right, I'm gonna start with the petals on my daisy. I'm gonna use my crumb cake combo for them and my color lifter. I'm gonna go along the edge where the petals meet this flower center, and then I'm just gonna kind of whisk, just with a like a feather stroke motion. Same with this one, just kind of whisking away from the center, lifting the pen as I get to the end of the stroke. And then where the petals overlap, like a kind of a bottom and a top row, I'm adding just a little bit of crumb cake. And then here, right in the center, I'm gonna just scribble up a little bit. Now I'm gonna take my dark crumb cake, and I'm just gonna go along that edge where everything meets and just kind of reinforce the shadow there and just dab a little bit. And last up with my color lifter, I'm just going to soften everything, and it also will melt the crumb cake ink just a little bit. We don't want to go too heavy with our color lifter because we don't want to blur our line. So there's our petals, and the bee's wings are pretty similar. We're just going to draw a little shadow in right up against his body with the light crumb cake, and then we'll blend from the light crumb cake to the white using the color lifter. It's just a little blend there at the edge. All right, then my stems and petals, or my stems and leaves, are light old olive and light mossy meadow. I'm gonna color my stems entirely with the light old olive, but not all at a time. I'm gonna do one stem, one leaf, so that the ink stays wet and I can blend. Then I'll go very lightly down the right side of my stem with the light mossy meadow, and then kind of up onto the leaf, little cup shape where the leaf meets the stem, and then there too. And then I'll just drag the light old olive over those areas. bring those two colors together. And then I'll do the rest of the stems and leaves with very similar blending. All right, there's my stems and leaves. Now, if you get out of the lines anywhere, and sometimes especially in the skinny little points in the leaves or the stems, I'll go out of the line. So I'm just gonna touch where I'm out of the line with the color lifter, let it do its job. And if it doesn't completely push back all the green where I got out of the line, then I'll come back to it again. Let's do the centers of the flower, and then we'll check that space again before we move on. So the cinnamon cider for the centers of the flower, I'm going to leave just a tiny little highlight area completely white. I did the light, then I'm just going to kind of dab and scribble in with the dark where the artist drew in the shadow close to the center of the flower. We'll do all of those pretty well the same way. Don't be afraid of the dark. You can go back in and even give a little bit harder shadow right along the edge. That's going to really show the shape of the flower. Now for our little bee, he's so cute. Got my dark so saffron, and that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to color all the little yellow bits with a scribble. And I'm going to go in with the bronze on his face, and then these stripes. Now you'll notice that I'm doing the top and the bottom of the stripe and leaving the very center, and that's okay. And then I'm going to go with my dark soft suede and just reinforce those edges. And then my dark so saffron, and I'm going to just draw along the back of the bee and along the bottom of the bee, blending all those yellows and browns together. There it is. That's the coloring, plain and simple. You just have to do it a couple of times for this card. Let's get the dies and cut them out. I love the die set here for the dandelions, the Dandy Wishes dies. There's 2 little bee dies in there, so you're going to be doing 2 at a time. That's where we got the bees. And the Harvest dies is where we're going to get this daisy coneflower. Let me grab my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I'm going to show you one more die from the Harvest dies really quick. We'll do the die cutting at the same time here. So all of our metallic sprigs, they almost look like wheat. That is this die from the same Harvest dies set. You're going to cut 3 of those wheat sprigs using the brushed metallic cardstock. And I've got the kind of gold tone, brushed gold here. I'm going to do a platinum one in my live video. All right, let's get these dies and cut out these images. Okay, I've got my images ready to cut, my sprig on my metallic, brushed metallic cardstock. Let's give this a crank. I have to say I bought this Harvest dies for this particular cutout. I love these little kind of wheat sprig looking cutouts, whether they're in metallic or solid cardstock or watercolor paper brushed with a little color. This is just a gorgeous cutout. It'll accent all your projects, spring, summer, and fall. And here's our beautiful daisies. Isn't that gorgeous? And of course our little bumblebees. I love this guy. All right, let's get this card. So I've got a piece of crumb cake cardstock here. It is 5.5 by 11. I'm gonna pop this in the Simply Score tool on the 11-inch side. And we're gonna score at 4 1/4, 5 7/8, and 7 1/2. That is your M fold. Got my bone folder here, and we're just gonna work each of these. And now this is that 4.5 by 5.5 panel. So that's the back of our card. We're gonna fold in on the first score, out on the second score, and in on the first score. And there's your M-fold card base. Fits in a standard envelope, stands beautifully, and gives you lots of opportunities to decorate. So let's decorate. My Designer Series paper is from the Harvest Meadow Designer Series paper. And we've got a few pieces here. Let me show you what we've got. For the inside of our card, we have a piece, your choice. This is 4 by 5.5. And then for the inside, this is gonna coordinate with your inside patterns. We have a second piece of Designer Series paper. This is 5.25 by 3.25. And then for the outside, we have another 5.25 by 3.25. Let's go ahead and glue those down, and then we'll address the smaller panels. All right, outside. Now, inside. We have 2 more panels of Designer Series paper here. These are 5.25 by 7/8 of an inch, and you can see that they coordinate, but they don't match. Those are for these skinny little M panels. Ooh, I love this pattern. I hate to put the glue on it. All right, there is our M-fold card covered. Pretty cool, right? All right, next. I did some die cutting from basic white cardstock and from soft suede. Let me show you those pieces really quick. I'm gonna put my card base aside so you can see these guys. So I've got this tiny little tag and this decorative label here. Do you see these? Cut from basic white. This is from the Meadows die, or Meadow dies. All right, those are basic white. All right, next up we have this eyelet, long eyelet rectangle. This is cut using the Ornate Layers dies. Got one of those from basic white. Then the scallop pierced rectangle. This is from Scallop Contours. It's the second largest scalloped layer. Got a couple of tags here, one from basic white and one from Designer Series paper. These are cut with the tailor-made tags dies. It's the largest bracketed tag from basic white and the largest bracketed tag from the Harvest Meadow Designer Series paper. And our last little die cut is the little O enforcer. We cut that from soft suede using these tailor-made tags dies. All right, we're gonna have to do some stamping on these pieces. So let's bring in our sample here for just a minute so you can see, because the first thing I wanna do is take apart my eyelet label. It's gonna span the fold, and the easiest way to do that is to pop it into your paper trimmer and cut 1.5 inches right off the end. I know that hurt, right? Such a perfect piece. The stamp sets that we're using today are rubber. So we're just gonna grab a little piece of small grid paper to protect our surface. And let me get my Stampin' pads. I've got crumb cake and soft suede. We're going to stamp this kind of vine pattern. It almost looks like kind of a blurred out grapevine. It's a really interesting little background textural element. It's from Nature's Harvest. We're going to stamp it on this label, but second generation. So we're going to stamp off, and then we're going to stamp on our piece. And then we'll do the same. We're using crumb cake ink. We'll stamp off, and then we'll stamp on our piece. Okay. Then same over here. Okay. Let's leave that to dry for just a minute, and let's get our little bracketed label, our tiny little tag, and our sentiments. So I've got love And I've got Thinking of You. And we're going to stamp those on these little cutout labels. This greetings are from the Quiet Meadow. Quiet Meadow stamp set coordinates with the Meadow dies that these little tags and bracket label came from. Thinking of You is going to go just a little bit to the right so we have room for our B. And then Love is going to go right on our tag with the little thread hole, the eyelet hole to the right. Cute, cute. Now our next greeting is from the same set. It says heartfelt love and caring thoughts are with you. We're going to stamp that in soft suede right here, a little bit low on this large piece of eyelet label and to the right. So pretty. All right, let's slide that aside. Now we can clear away the ink pads and get the glue. Okay, let's start with our eyelet label piece. We're going to go ahead and adhere that to the inside of our card. Now our glue is going to go only on the far left side of the label because it's going to adhere to the left of this center fold. So just a bit of glue all the way on one side, and it's going to go about maybe 3/8 to 1/2 inch from the bottom, and you don't want it on the fold. You want to leave the fold so that the mechanism works on this M fold card, and these labels pop out nicely, but the card folds flat for an envelope. Now we're adhering the other part of the label on the other side of the fold. Just skip that little scored fold there, and then all right, so there's this label. Now our smaller decorative label, we're going to adhere that one to the right side of the center fold, so just a little bit of adhesive, and you can do a touch on the scallop too, but just rub a little bit with the tip of the bottle so that you don't have any big mess. That's going to go about 3/4 inch from the top, and the glue shouldn't go past the center fold. Now here's your little label mechanism. Pretty cool, huh? I think so. All right, now inside we've got this gorgeous pierced scallop rectangle. We'll decorate it, but leave a little bit of room for a personalized message. Let's put that centered. Before we move to the outside, let's decorate some more on the inside. Since we're on the inside of our card, we're going to do everything with liquid glue, no dimensionals. And we're going to start with these gold, like wheat sprigs. I think they look like wheat. Maybe they're too long on top. I don't know. They sure are pretty though. All right, we're going to glue this one on the card on the inside here, pretty much as far as we can go, but not off the designer series paper. See that? This is a good one to use your adhesive sheets before you do the die cutting if you're concerned about liquid glue. If it's not your best subject, the adhesive sheets will work really good for you here. All right, then your flowers. Let's get those glued on with liquid glue. And those will go right over. We want to leave a little bit of room for a bit of a greeting there. Such a pretty combination. All right, then we're going to move past the center folds here and add another one of these little sprigs. Now this one's going to go here in the center of this panel. Make sure that nothing goes over the folds on either side. So pretty. Now the flowers. Now these are going to go off past the top of this label. So you're going to have to be very careful with your glue placement. Start from the bottom and add glue to the leaves and stems. Then adhere the leaves and stems to the card. Watch your greeting. You want to frame it and not cover it. And then once you've got it in place where you want it, then you can say, okay, this bloom could have a little bit of glue. This can go a little bit higher. There. Now we know where we could actually put glue so we don't glue past the edge of our eyelet label. It's really coming together, isn't it? Comes together fast once your coloring is done. And the coloring, if you like to color, is really soothing. All right, now for the inside panel, this one doesn't have any sort of a pop-up. It's not on the flaps. It's going to go right on the inside, so you can do glue all the way. And you want to get this one right up against the edge, but don't cross the fold. Isn't that fun? Oh my goodness. All right, let me show you. So there it is with the little flaps. Folds up nicely. And we got a little greeting to add there. So let me get the tag and some linen thread. All right, we're gonna thread through the front of the tag, pull. I usually try to do about, from the tip of my middle finger to the end of my palm. We're gonna do a little bit less for this because it's gonna be such a tiny little bow. And then tie. Pull these loops, give it a little finesse. Yeah, since it's such a tiny little bow, we could have gone a little less. We're gonna have to trim some off. That's okay though. It's so cute. And we're gonna add this one with some liquid glue, or you could use mini glue dots here, would be fine too. But it is the inside of the card, so you might be tempted to put dimensionals, but it'll make it pretty bulky, so go flat. So cute. Oh my gosh, I love this card. And it really is so much easier than it looks. All right, the last little touch on the inside. We need some buzzy bumblebees, so we're gonna put one on our thinking of you label and one on our heartfelt love greeting. Just a little liquid glue. This one you could actually stamp on the label, but if you stamped it on the label, then it becomes very clear on the back side of the label where you colored it. The Stampin' Blends bleed through, and it's just a little bit cleaner if you glue it on. And then this little guy, he's gonna go past the edge of the label. So we're just gonna put a little bit of glue like on the bottom of his belly and legs and put him just buzzing right over the edge of the thinking of you. That's inside. Now let's do outside of our card. I'm gonna go with my bone folder and just crease this a little bit, reinforce that crease so that it'll lay a little bit flatter, and it will flatten out and go into a standard envelope, no worries. Gonna start with our tags here for the outside, and let me bring in my sample. This is what we're doing. Isn't that gorgeous? All right, so we're gonna adhere the O enforcer to the white tag, the little multi-purpose liquid glue. And then we'll adhere the white tag to the patterned tag. Let it peek out just a bit, kind of a fun matted look. Then the sprigs to the tag. Now the sprigs are going to go past the top of the tag, so use care with your glue here. Don't go all the way to the ends, and just drag down the stems. Squeeze the bottle lightly and just drag. Now it's all going to go on the card front, so if you got a little bit of glue past the edge of the tag, that's okay. Just don't glue it to the table while you're finishing the rest of the pieces. Now let's do the linen thread. Right, let's remove the liner from our dimensionals. We can add our flower over the little sprigs. I know, little bee, such a cutie. Kind of like he's buzzing along. And there it is. There is your M fold card with the flaps. Isn't that just too cool? What a beautiful display piece. What a beautiful gift. If you got any questions about the project, you can email Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. And to shop Stampin' Up 24/7, buzz over to marisaalvarez.stampinup.net. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.